Well, well, well. Look who we have here. Hey guys, what's going on? Thank you for joining me, man. Looking forward to today's show, Sunday. I think that we're all psyched up and ready to go. At least I am. Or maybe it's a little too early for some of you out there. Not sure. Did you guys have a good night? Slept well? Ready for the show this morning? Got your coffee or, herbs or frosted flakes or whatever it is that you're having this morning ready to go? I hope so. I hope you're in shape. Tell you what, man, I had a pretty weird night last night. Not in a good way either. A lot of stuff happened last night. Oh, Lordy. Tell you what, well, first of all, I had some really weird dreams last night. Strange dreams. And I don't usually have dreams like that, but I'll tell you a little bit about it in a little while. Of course, we also had this really strange earthquake last night, which we don't usually get. I forget what time it was, but it must have been after 3, probably. I didn't look at my watch or anything like that, but yeah, everything was shaking. The room was shaking, and not in a good way in the middle of the night, if you know what I mean. So yeah, we had some kind of an earthquake. I think it was 3 point something or 4, so not a big one, but enough to rattle the walls a little bit. So that was interesting, to say the least. No wet dreams, Shane. They weren't wet. But they were really weird. I had a weird dream, and guess who was in my dream? Our buddy Shane from In the Blues. I don't know, man. I think I'm watching too many videos. I dreamt that I was in Australia for some strange reason. I've never been to Australia. And I was in Australia just like walking around, enjoying the view. Everything seemed really nice. I was really enjoying everything that I was looking at there. Seemed really wonderful. I was even considering, hey, maybe I should move to Australia. It's so nice in my dream. And for some reason, Shane was there. And I don't remember what he was doing. He wasn't in it for very long, but I remember he was in it. It was some kind of a connection. And then I remembered I had something to get done, and I had like a time limit, and it was like a couple days away, and I wouldn't be able to make it in time or to do it in time. So all of a sudden my nice lovely dream turned into like a little bit of a panic attack. I don't know why. Anyways, really strange thing. I guess I have to stop snacking before going to bed. Martin is here. Martin Cloutier. He says, I didn't feel the earthquake, but friends who live in my neighborhood are talking about it this morning. Yeah, apparently it was further away. I think it happened, the epicenter of the earthquake was, I believe, 3 Rivers, around there. Anyway, I'm not too worried about earthquakes because they're never really strong here. It's not like, what you get in California and other parts of the world. So a little shaky every once in a while, no big deal. But they mostly always happen at night for some reason. I don't know why. Anyway, Marcel says, I slept through it, or it didn't touch Longueuil. I think it did. You're a heavy sleeper, Marcel. That's probably it. So let me say hi to the boys that are here today. And we got some interesting topics today, some interesting news as well. And I'd like to hear some news from you guys as well. So Jack is here. Jack Collins, my good friend Jack. He says, I have a new guitar. Epiphone Limited Dot Flame Maple Top. The color is called Aquamarine. Hey, nice. Is this your first? That's a semi-hollow body, if I'm not mistaken. So is this your first? And I'm not familiar with all of the models, but I know they had an older version with the bigger headstock, the limited edition, like that one. So is yours the older version with the bigger headstock, or the newer version with the smaller headstock? I like the Epiphones. I always thought Epiphones were a really good deal. At least they were back in the day. Now the prices have gone up a little bit, unfortunately. I wish they wouldn't have, but they did. So it is what it is. I think everything's going up. But congratulations on that guitar, dude. So did you buy this one new, used? Give us the details. Let us know what you're playing it through and how it compares to the other axes in the lineup at your place. It's always fantastic to get a new guitar. I haven't gotten a new guitar in a while. I think I'm due. Just I don't know what else to get. That's the thing. I'm kind of scratching my head on that one. Paul Taylor is here. He says, afternoon, everyone. So I guess Paul is tuning in from a different part of the world since it's afternoon where he is. It's only morning over here. Gene Callie says, good morning, Tony and Addicted. And he's all set up. Apparently he's got his coffee and he's got his tree. He's getting supplies apparently. And he had a question. He says, do two-nomatic bridges come in different radiuses? Good question. And I could be wrong on my answer here, Gene, but I believe that most two-nomatic bridges don't necessarily come with different radiuses. But what a lot of people don't realize is just like you're filing your nut on your guitar to suit the radius of your fretboard, you can also do the same on your two-nomatic bridge. The little notches where the strings slide into on the saddles can be notched, can be filed out, so you can actually get it to play with the radius on your fretboard better. And I believe StewMac sells a special type of it's like a thread, but it's got a grid on it like sandpaper, and they come in different thicknesses, and you can actually use them to file out your saddles. So look into that, man. Yeah, Paul says it's 3 p.m. in Wales. It's mid-afternoon. And MFN is here. He says, greetings, everyone. Nice to see you, buddy. Thank you for tuning in. Ken is also here. And as I mentioned, well, Stephen is here as well. He says, good morning, all. Good morning, Stephen. I hope everything's cool. Everything's going well in your neck of the woods, I hope. Ken is here as well. Vinny's World, Time Surfing Alien. Says it's 9 a.m. here in LA, Lower Alabama. Mark is here. How's it going, Mark? Nice to see you, man. All right, so as per usual, I'm going to encourage everybody to start with any type of questions that you have. And for those of you that are not new to the protocol, we like to have a little question mark in front of your questions if they're intended for me specifically. If they're intended for everyone, then just leave off the question mark at the beginning. It just allows me to identify which question is for me. So it's easier that way. And I encourage everybody to ask away. That's what we're here for. Now, for you that are new, you know what the protocol here is. Hopefully you know what the whole channel is about. We're here about guitars and gear mostly. And we encourage the purchasing, the selling, and you know, all the research involved and all the cork sniffing involved with any kind of gear. And there's over 700 videos on my channel. I encourage you guys to watch if you're so inclined. It all obviously helps the channel grow. And yeah, I have some good news. Speaking of growing the channel, let me just do one thing. I'm going to just update this very quickly here. So let me just see here. Give me a sec. So yesterday I was just looking around on YouTube, and I happened to notice that the subscribers on my channel were 39,999. And today, I don't know if you can see this or not, but there you go. 34,000. We hit 34,000. So there you go. I think it's a very important day. What do you guys think? I'm happy to see those numbers go up. I appreciate everybody that's tuning in regularly, making it fun for everybody. So thank you for everybody that's participating in the channel, participating in the live shows, and providing feedback for all the videos that I do. Yesterday I created a video and posted it for you guys, and that video was a pedal review. I don't know if you got an opportunity to watch. It's this guy, the Joyo Tai Chi. Can you see that? I wish they wouldn't have used white lettering on this thing. So I reviewed this pedal for you guys. I posted it on my YouTube channel yesterday, and I encourage you guys to watch it if you're looking for a cool pedal of the overdrive sorts. The Tai Chi is quite a nice little add-on to any pedal board because it's not expensive. It's actually one of the few pedals that you can still get for like under 60 bucks. I think there's actually a sale on right now on that one. And if I'm not mistaken, it's temporary. You can get it on Amazon. And here, hold on. Let me just copy that link and share it with you guys in case you want it. You can actually go to Amazon and pick one up for I think 56 bucks right now. I think there's a $20 rebate on it. And it's posted in the links in the video if you're interested. So yeah, take a look and enjoy. That's why I do it. Dewey says, how's the noise floor on the Joyo? It's actually very good. I didn't really notice that much noise. I was playing it through this guitar. This is my Gibson Les Paul. So the demo was playing with this guitar through my Princeton. And the whole point of these overdrive pedals for me, and this is why I like using the Princeton, is because the Princeton is a very small combo. It's not very powerful. The wattage is low. The speaker is a 10-inch. It sounds great. I mean, I love Princetons, don't get me wrong. But if you can get the Princeton to break up nicely and to sound like a bigger amp, that's how I know, whichever pedal I'm running through it, be it the Tai Chi from Joyo or something else, that's how I know that I like the pedal. If it makes a big boy sound, I usually play, I really enjoy playing through my Marshall, my SV, my 20 Studio Vintage, which is behind me. You can't see it, I'm blocking the view here. But that amplifier's fantastic, I have to say. Ever since I got that amplifier fixed, because I was having an issue with the high end dropping out, and my good friend Rick Onslow, who is a very reputable person to go to if you have to have your amplifier repaired, especially Marshall amplifiers, he's the guy in this area. And he took a look at it for me, found the problem, fixed it, and it just sounds fantastic. I was just playing it yesterday, and it blew my socks off. It's funny because sometimes we forget, in the world of multi-effects and processors and, emulation software that you can run off your computer system, you sometimes forget how good a real amplifier sounds. And that amplifier is fantastic. And with my pedals, my pedal combination, I was playing it yesterday with this guitar, and it just blew my socks off. And I'm like, man, this is it. This is what it's all about. I lost part of my hearing, mind you, but it is what it is. So if you guys out there, if any of you have the SV20, you know what I mean. It's I think a great bang for the buck if you're into that Marshall sound. So Dan says the SV20H is a beast. I gotta agree, but it's a beast, but if you're not playing it with pedals, it cleans up really well. So you can still do the clean thing with it, but just put a pedal in front of it, push it a little harder, and it's glorious. Thank you, Rico. Rico says, congratulations on the 34,000 subscribers. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm glad to see people are still tuning in. Before I forget, guys, there is a poll question that I posted. So please take the opportunity to cast your vote. We're going to check that out during the tail end of the show like we normally do. If you guys haven't tuned in before, please note that you have to be subscribed to be able to chat. So if you're lurking in the background, that's no fun. You know, subscribe. It takes a minute, and then you could jump in on the chat. And that's the whole fun. That's the whole point of these live streamed shows, is to be able to speak one-on-one and, you know, get your feedback, answer some questions and stuff like that. All right, so please do that. And the poll question is on the community section of the website. Just go to Addicted to Gear on YouTube community, and it's there. All right, and I'll actually, you know, to make it even easier for you guys, I'll actually just tell you what the poll question was, and then you guys can vote while you listen to me jabber. All right, so the question for today was, have you ever returned a guitar or amp immediately after buying it? So we have 121 votes so far on it, and we'll check it a little bit later and see what the consensus is on that. I wanted to ask that question because I was thinking about that the other day, and I said to myself, well, I wonder, you know, if people are like making the mistake of buying stuff, not really knowing that it's what they're looking for, and then regretting it immediately. And it sucks when that happens, but I'm sure it does happen. And I'll tell you, you know, some stories a little later on. So poll question is there, vote away, and we'll check it out a little later. All right? Okay, good. Let's see here. DMAX says that new Engel Steve Morse amps looks good. Yeah, I saw that. It looks interesting. It does. Small little amp. I saw a video of Steve playing through it. My initial impression of what I heard was that it sounded a little overly saturated for me, but that's like the Steve Morse sound, I would say, right? I always look for an amplifier that sounds a little bit more open, and that you can actually leverage a little easier with pedals and stuff like that to get your own sound, because it's easier to, I would say, you know, build up saturation or overdrive when you're playing through an amplifier than to try and remove it. So if the amplifier already has a certain degree of drive built into it, you're stuck with that. You can't really change it. But it does look cool. I don't know what the price is on that one, DMAG. Do you know what it's going for? What it's selling for? Will be interesting to find out. JP's here. He says, any trivia on the program today? Perhaps. Yeah, why not? We'll do a little trivia later on for those of you who stick around. And Steven says, just got an email that my cell phone was found. Gotta run. Hopefully back before the end. I didn't know you lost your cell phone, Steven. Well, that's good news. Good karma. Somebody's being a good citizen. Hope you get it back, man. Sucks losing your cell phone. I just learned my son's on a fishing trip right now with his friend, and we've been trying to reach him for a couple of days and couldn't reach him. End up finding out that he dropped his phone in the lake. Oh man, that always sucks. We put a lot of importance on this little thing. It's like our safety blanket today. You can't leave the house without having the phone with you. Otherwise, you have a panic attack. You're like, oh my God, I can't leave the house without my phone. What if something happens? Remember back in the day when you were a kid? At least if anybody out there is my age. I mean, we used to take off. We used to hop on our bicycles and just take off and be gone the entire day. And in my case, be gone till it started getting dark, really. And our parents had no clue where the hell we were. We could have been like anywhere. No cell phones. Yeah, there were pay phones, but we never used them. I never used a pay phone when I was a kid. Things have changed. But those were the good old days, in my opinion. Getting in trouble with your friends. All right. Marcel says, hit the like button and subscribe. It's free and helps Tony. Yeah, thank you, Marcel. I appreciate that, my friend. Encourage that, yeah. If whatever you can do to help the channel, always appreciate it. All right, we have a lot of interesting topics today, but I want to answer questions first. So again, if you have a question that is dedicated or meant for me, please put a little question mark before your question. Let's see, we have a question here. What do you think of the PRS SE24 Indonesia? I just picked one up, used and love it. I'm a big fan of the PRS SE guitars. I have a few in the rack behind me here. I have no issues with them. I think they're fantastic for the money. A lot of people can't afford the core US models of the PRS guitars. They're fantastic all around. But I do feel like the SE models, they do provide a lot of bang for the buck. I would love to see them a little cheaper. But hey, I think I'm, living in La La Land because nothing's cheaper these days. But you're definitely going to get a very good quality guitar, a very good sounding guitar, and a very solidly built guitar. I haven't really seen too many people having issues with the SE models. Again, that doesn't mean it doesn't happen, but I think the quality control that PRS puts out on their guitars, even the overseas models, is very good. So if you're a fan of PRS guitars and you don't want to dish out, the $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 for the core models, you can snag an SE for a lot less than that, especially if you're buying them used. Jeff says, I returned the original Spark amp back to Amazon within 30 minutes of getting it. Overhyped garbage. Oh, wow. I'm glad I didn't try one then, Jeff. It's funny because, yeah, a lot of people are talking about those Spark amps like as if they're, the next best thing since sliced bread. You didn't like it? Well, that's the beauty of Amazon. They'll take anything back, really. It's a good way to try something just to make sure. I haven't really tried the Spark. Maybe I should. Just for giggles, just to see, what it's all about. MFN says, hello, Tony. I'm working on a 38 specials. Hold on loosely. I'm working on 38 specials. Hold on loosely. Sorry, I read that wrong. I've had problems with the opening power chord BAE transition. I lag between the A and the E. Technique, tips, exercises for the change. Well, I would have to, I can't listen to the song. I mean, I could through my headphones, I assume. Let me see something here. Let me just, let me hear that transition again. Hold on. Hold on, loosely. Loosely. I can't even spell, man. Let's see here. 38 special. And of course, I just dropped my pick. I swear. Hold on. I'm just listening to it. I'm going to lower it just in case YouTube picks it up. That's a nice song. I forgot about that one. Oh, let me pick up my pick. Do I have another pick here somewhere? So which part? BAE? So I don't know how it goes. I'm just listening to something. So it's a... So you're saying the BAE, right? Well, it depends how they're playing it. So because they could be playing it here. Or they can be playing it. It depends where you're playing it. Because it's harder to play it like this. Because you're playing the B. So it's better just like that, right? I don't know if that's what you're talking about. Sometimes that's one of the things that I notice that some people do. Is that when they're playing the... I'm sorry, my guitar's a little bit out of tune. I noticed that some people, when they're playing their guitar and they're trying to pick up certain parts, tend to play it one way or one part of the neck. You know? And then there's easier ways to play it depending on where you're trying to play it on the neck. So Alex2112 says he's doing the trick where he holds the bar chord with his pinky, then slides with his finger. Hold on, Leslie. Yeah, so holds the bar chord with his pinky, then slides. Whatever, yeah. I don't know. Because if you do it here, you know, it's... Because you can do it, you can do it there too. Or they don't sound the same. So you're playing it the second way, you're playing it here, there, or not here. Yeah. I mean, it's just a question of practicing the changes a little more, and you end up figuring it out when you end up playing the songs after a while. For me, I've played songs wrong for a long time, and then I finally figured it out. I'm like, oh yeah, of course, he's not playing it over there, he's playing it over here. No wonder it's so difficult to make the changes so quick. Yeah, the Ace Frehley trick, he says. Time Surfing Alien says, I discovered that that Ivy does an OEM for PRS and others. My Ivy is fantastic. I've been hearing a lot of really good feedback from people owning those Ivy guitars. And I was looking and seeing if I can find one for review somewhere. And it looks like they don't, I mean, Amazon sells them, but I don't think they sell them in Canada. Let me just see here. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, they do sell them. Yeah, they do. So the Ivy guitars, the ones that look like PRS guitars, the cheapest one that I can see here is about $237. It's interesting that a lot of brands pop up that we've never heard about on Amazon, and then become really popular for some reason, like the the ERT guitars, ERT, whatever you want to call them. Those guitars have jumped up quite a bit in cost, because you used to be able to get them at about $200 and something. Now most of them, the ones I'm looking at here, are like 500 bucks Canadian now. So they went up fast. That's a shame. They're nice guitars though. I recommend them. At least the ones I have. I'm glad I grabbed a few while the grabbing was good, and I grabbed them and I bought them used on top of that. So I even paid less than their going rate. Mississippi Blues. Hi Tony and all, and new guitar day tomorrow. A Gibson Standard 50s gold top with P90s. Do you have any experience of the guitar? Well, listen, dude, congratulations. That's a fantastic guitar. Unfortunately, I don't have experiences with those guitars. I've always wanted one. They're really sweet guitars. And the closest I have to that guitar is my Edwards Gold Top with P90s in it. And I think that one is a really, really good guitar. But I'm sure the Gibson is even sweeter. I think you're going to love it. Everybody needs a gold top in their closet. Everybody needs a gold top. So congratulations, dude. Did you buy that one new also, or did you snag that one up used? Or give us some of the backstory on that guitar. Is that your first P90? A lot of people that never played a guitar with P90s in it sometimes are a little bit confused, because they feel like, it's going to sound like a humbucker or like a single coil. And in my experience, it doesn't really sound like either one of those. It's kind of in between, right? It sounds fatter than a single coil, but thinner than a humbucker. But it sits so nicely in the mix when you're playing with a band. It cuts through really nice. And it gets you on the edge of breakup a lot of times. If you can get the guitar and amplifier to play when it's on the edge of breakup like that, it sounds glorious. Yeah, there's going to be some noise. It's not hum canceling. So if you're really a stickler and you really want to have like a really clean signal, then I guess you should stick with humbuckers, although the noise doesn't really bother me. Alex2112 says, Tony, have you seen the new Firefly George Harrison Rosewood Telecaster? No, I didn't see that. Thanks for pointing that out. Let me take a look. Did this just come out? So what am I looking for? Just Firefly George Harrison? Is that what they're calling it? That's surprising. I would assume that there'd be legal issues if they call it that. Let me just type that in and see what comes up. Okay, so let me see here. The only guitars that I can see, I see somebody that's reviewed one. So it's called the Firefly FFTL. That's what's I guess the real name. Firefly TL. Let's see if I can. Okay. FFTL. By the way, there's a lot of really nice, a couple of relic versions of these Firefly guitars too. So I don't see the George Harrison model here. I'm looking for it. On Reverb maybe? I guess I'm gonna have to search a little harder. No, I don't see it. I'm gonna have to search, but that's interesting. If you can find out the Fireflies on the Guitar Garden website, let me see here. Let me type that in. I was looking at the Guitar Garden website earlier. I didn't see it. I see the... Why am I missing it? I see the FFTL models, but I don't see the Harrison version of it. Unless I'm missing it somewhere. Let me see here. No, I don't see it. Maybe somebody can point me in the right direction on that one. MFN says I see the FFTL on Reverb for $550. Okay. I'll check it out later on. That sounds interesting. Yeah, Jimmy Stewart, I saw that review. I'm gonna take a look at it later. Always looking for some good inexpensive guitars. Who knows? Maybe there's a Firefly in my future somewhere down the line. MFN says, I wanted a Fender George Harrison tribute for years, but do not want to pay $5K. I think they're actually more than that now. The George Harrison models, I don't think they're $5K anymore. Let me see. I think they're more like $7 now. Unless I'm thinking Canadian. Let me see. And the thing is, you also have to remember that those models are heavy. It's a heavy wood on those things. Okay, well, yeah, they have different ones. They have I see one for $5,450 used on Reverb, but then they also have the custom shop, which is not the George Harrison model per se, but it is the custom shop Rosewood Telecaster, and that one goes for $10,000. Oof, that's too rich for my blood. You know, if you want a guitar like that, why not just get a rosewood body and build your own? It won't cost you 10 G's, I'll tell you that much. Even if you want to put on, you know, custom Fender parts on it. You know, snag yourself a nice rosewood neck. You can get them made custom for you. You can get them made on Wormouth. That probably will cost you a few $100 for sure. $300, $400, maybe $500. I don't know how much it'll cost exactly. But, you know, between a body and a neck, even if the body and the neck cost you $1,000 each, which it won't, that's only $2,000. And then the parts, well, parts you can get anywhere. Won't cost you much. So you just knocked off, you know, $8,000 off the price of that custom shop. I think I'm in the wrong business. I should start building custom shop guitars. Okay, so there's a question here. Our friend Farid says, Tony, how do you stop the bridge saddle height adjustment screw on the low E string from unwinding itself when playing? So I guess you're talking about a Strat, not a Telecaster, not a Stratocaster. You're talking about a Telecaster or a Stratocaster and not a Les Paul. What you can do, what I've done, first of all, make sure the screw's the right size for the hole. Sometimes they're not, for whatever reason. People change them and sometimes put a smaller screw. But if they do get loose, a little Loctite, that's all you need. Just get Loctite, you know, like the blue Loctite. You know what I'm talking about when I say Loctite? I'm talking about this, I'll show you. You can get it on Amazon, you can get it anywhere. Here, I'll share my screen so you see what I mean. This guy, Loctite. They have different types of Loctites. You want to get the ones that are not the strongest bond. This is basically, it's basically a liquid that acts like a glue, but it can be broken. So you get a little Loctite and just little drop on the little screw once you have it at the right height, and you're done. It won't move. Profile Production says, hey Tony, looking for a fast loader for my Floyd so I don't have to cut the ball ends off. Yeah, that is a good upgrade for any Floyd. So I guess you're asking me if I know of a good one. Hmm. Um, I don't know. Does FU Tone make top loaders? I think they do. Let me see. Do you guys know FU Tone? If you don't, I'll share that with you guys. This is FU Tone's website. They have everything, especially when it comes to like Floyd Rose and those type of things. So if you go here, build your own bridge. They basically have everything you need here to build your own Floyd Rose. I don't know if they have the top loader or not. I gotta see here. So you can see here, you can do 6 or 7 strings. You can choose your color. You can choose a big block, small block. Then you can choose the hardware if you want stainless steel, titanium, color. They got everything. Saddle inserts as well, the little blocks there. Then you can choose your saddles. If you want titanium, it costs an arm and the leg. You have the wrench tip arm or push in arm. You have the springs, the claws, the posts here. Again, they don't specify. I would look around on the website. They might have. They might have. I haven't. I don't know too much about it because I haven't really looked into that. I don't have too many guitars with Floyd Rose on them. That's another trick Martin is suggesting, where you can load the strings by the peg. And so you, in other words, you put the ball end at the top of the tuners, and then you don't have to cut the string. It's another way you can do it. Wayne says it's called Thread Locker. Yeah, that's what it is, Thread Locker, but the brand name is Loctite, at least here. Mississippi Blue says, Tony, have you checked out the Gardner Houlgate auction site? Massive guitar auction, 2, 3, 4, 5 next week. Some real nice guitars. No, I've never purchased a guitar off of an auction before. I don't know how that would work, and I'm not that sure I'd be that confident in buying a guitar sight unseen. It's not my thing. I like to actually try the guitar before I buy one. Searching for Tone says, I just had a jaw-dropping kind of moment. I listed a Dan Smith era Strat online for sale. I just realized it's a 40-plus-year-old guitar. Why do you want to sell it, man? It's a nice old guitar. Keep it. You know, old guitars are not easy to find. Good old guitars are not easy to find. You might regret it. Just saying. I don't want to put a doubt in your mind, but it's hard to get those older guitars back. Gene says, if anyone knows a great price on buy bulk strings, let us know. There used to be a couple of websites that would sell bulk strings. I don't know if they're still in business or not. I end up buying my strings in bulk. Well, not bulk, but small 5-packs. I think they have 5 and 10 packs on Amazon. That's usually where I buy mine. Saves a couple of bucks off each pack. It's not a huge thing, but it's better in my pocket than theirs, I guess, right? Eddie says, I have more guitars with Floyds than not, so I'm used to all the pain. Yeah, that's one of the things that Floyd owners have to get used to real quick. It's messing around with the tremolo. MFN says, I've not had the pleasure of using Floyd Rose, but based on all the problems I've heard other expressed, not sure why anyone would use them. Well, I mean, they were very popular back in the day. You know, these days, I don't know, do you really need a locking nut? I'm a big advocate of the Vega Trems. I think Vega Trems work really well. I think they give you a lot of the pluses that a Floyd Rose will give you without the locking nut. So yeah, you know, your guitar will still go out of tune eventually. But in my opinion, it's easier to fix a guitar and just retune quick than when your Floyd goes out of tune and they go out of tune too. And then you have to like get, you know, open up the locking nut and then tighten everything and lock it down again. It takes a lot longer, in my opinion. So for me, I think the negatives outweigh the positives with a Floyd. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. Maybe some of you out there maybe still love your Floyd. Rico says, Tony, are you using 10s on your Les Paul? No, Rico, I don't go to 10 anymore. 9s, it's probably a 9. Actually, not probably a 9, it is a 9. I tend to stick with 9s these days. I still haven't installed the Reverend Billy Gibbons strings that I bought that were 7s. I still haven't put them on a guitar yet. I'm actually like have a little PTSD on that. I'm a little worried, but I'm curious. So I'm gonna have to put them on a guitar. I think that's gonna be maybe one of my next videos. See how that goes. Never played 7s before. Paul's here. Hey, Paul. Hey, Paul, what did you make a pedal suggestion today? If you did, I missed it. I'm just jumping around in the comments so I don't see all of them. But Paul usually has pretty good pedal suggestions. He says, I had a Fender Custom Shop Strat. The build was very good as expected, but they do not sound better. Any Fender can be a dog or a gem or average in my opinion. Made in America, made in Japan, made in Mexico. It's all luck with wood. Yeah, I mean, to a certain degree, I agree with you. I think the majority of the reason why we like guitars, one guitar over another, is the setup. If a guitar is set up properly, it makes a huge difference. And you can take two Strats that are identical and one has a very bad setup and one that's been set up properly, worlds apart. So you can't make a blanket statement to say all custom shop guitars are good. You can't do that. It doesn't work that way. Alex says, Tony, I'm sitting in my man cave and I realize I have more guitars, gear, and amps than my local guitar store. You know, Alex, that's not a bad thing. And even if you don't have more, you probably have better. I find a lot of the guitars that I see on these at the stores these days are average at best. So yeah, it's good to be able to look at your collection and not feel tempted that you need something else. Gene says, just like my women, I prefer 10s. That's a good strategy, Gene. Paul says, I found the shipping on all the bulk sites kill the point of it. That's what I noticed too, Paul. You know, when you're living in Canada, a lot of these sites are in America, in the States, they're in Europe. And yeah, you know, you save a couple of bucks per pack of string, but then they charge you $25 for shipping. So what's the point? I think Amazon's probably the best bet, unfortunately, for now. Jeff says there's a Tolman episode where they talk to Steve Vai's guitar tech. He shows how to do string change and no fuss. He leaves the ball ends on. Search Steve Vai's guitar tech reveal setup. I think I've seen that one way back, Jeff. Yeah, if anybody's going to be able to give you good advice on a Floyd, it's going to be him. We know how Steve likes to beat the heck out of his Floyd. All right. My Logify says, have you seen the video I sent? Which video? No, I didn't see it. Sorry, I'm jumping around here today. I'll have to go back and take a look. And guys, don't worry. I mean, if you make comments and I miss it, usually I rewatch the video after it goes live. And for some reason, I don't know why it takes so long for it to go live with the comments. YouTube is so slow. It takes like a day for the video to be updated so that you can see the comments. So sometimes you guys will make suggestions and stuff that I won't see the first time around, but I'll take note of it. I'll go through it again, take note of it, and do some research after the fact as well. Rico says, I tried Billy's 8s on a Strat. Really changed how hard I press down on the strings. Would love to see you do a video on the 7s. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. I don't know if I should put it on a Strat or if I should put it on a Les Paul. I figure if I'm going to be doing Billy Gibbons, probably better to put it on a guitar with humbuckers. So maybe I'll put it on one of my Les Paul style guitar. Why not? I'll do it. Maybe I'll do a before and after. See if it changes the tone in any way. Vinny says, I do that. Leave the ball ends, but it messes up the tuners. I guess it would kind of scratch the tuners, eh? You don't necessarily have to put it all the way up to the hole of your tuner. So I wanted to jump onto a couple of things that I wanted to talk about today, because there is a couple of items on my agenda. First of all, good news, the Tone King Royalist Mark III that I've been dying to try is back in stock at one of my local shops, and I'm going to go try it. And wish me luck, guys. I really hope I don't like that amplifier, because if I do, it's going to be trouble for my bank account. But so far, all the videos that I've watched on the Royalist where they weren't playing it through some kind of an aux device or something like that sounded really good. And the person that I have a bone to pick with is Greg Koch, because he's been putting out videos where he's playing with his band, and he's got one in the background and he's playing it live. And I've been watching those videos and it sounds amazing. It's just awesome. So he's really the guy that I blame for this. So anyways, I'll let you know how it turns out. I'm curious. I'm excited and a little nervous at the same time. But I'll get back to you with some feedback on that amplifier. It could be my next acquisition. I don't know. We'll see. But it's got to be pretty special because, like I said earlier, I'm really digging my Marshall. I love my Friedman Dirty Shirley. I love my Brunetti Plexi Man. And, so far I'm lucky enough to say I have a really decent, small collection of amps. Do I really need another one? That remains to be seen. Not really sure. You guys can try and talk me out of it. I would appreciate that. My Logify says, was on comments for the poll. RG that I talked about just made a very short video of me showing it. Oh, I got it. Okay. Cool. I'll take a look, man. Thanks for the heads up on that one. I used to have an RG too. I think I had a bright yellow one. It was almost like highlighter yellow at a certain point. A little too flashy for my taste, but it was a cool guitar nonetheless. All right, so one of the things I want to talk about, guys, I'm a big Rush fan. I've always been a big Rush fan. There's a very cool video on YouTube I encourage you guys to watch if you're a Rush fan as well. It's really a nice, heartwarming session, and I just clicked on the link here. You can You can find it if you search Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson, My Effin' Life, Interview Part 1, Massey Hall, December 7th, 2023. So somebody was recording, was in the audience and was recording this interview, this session that they had, and it was between Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson, where they were just sitting down and just reminiscing about their life and career as, Rush. And I gotta tell you, man, those guys seem to be like the sweetest bunch of guys. Like, so nice. You know what I mean? Geddy is like, a really, really honest, straightforward type of guy. Alex Lifeson seems to have a really fun sense of humor. And they're recounting all kinds of funny stories, including the one about Zone Air, which I encourage you guys to listen to. It's so funny. Basically, in a nutshell, Alex Lifeson in the early days used to like to, joke around with other acts that they'd be, either opening for or having open for them. And what he would do is he would make a paper airplane, like about this big, and he would call it Zone Air. And he would make it and, draw all the emblems on it like a plane and fill up the plane with, just hash, or fill it up with, weed or whatever it is, and just leave it in their dressing rooms as a gift. And he called it Zone Air. And then he tells the story about, how some bands didn't wait till after the show to actually take advantage of the little Zone Air gift and did it before the show. And that sounded pretty funny. But I love those stories. I could listen to those stories all day. So I listened to that one, which is part 1, which is about an hour. And I think there's a part 2 or maybe even a part 3. So I'm looking forward to listening to those as well. Yeah, great band. I saw them live. I had the opportunity to see them live. And, it's just part of being a Canadian. You got to go see a Rush show, a Rush concert. And if you haven't, you missed out, I have to say. I know there's a few Rush fans here in the house, for sure. Of course. Jeff says, Rule 2, Tony, don't be afraid to spend money. You can always make money back. If you're missing the awesome time you will have with the amp, you can't get that back. Jeff, I agree with you, man. Thank you for that. Thank you for making me feel better. I don't know if my wife will agree with you on that one, but thank you nonetheless. A lot of people saw Rush more than once. Yeah. I remember and I love the humor of Rush with the rotisserie chickens in the back. If you guys have been to a show, you'll probably remember when they had the big rotisserie chickens, and every once in a while there'd be somebody dressed as a chef that would come out and baste the chicken during the show. And then during another concert, they had I think there was just washing machines that were doing the laundry. They would always have something going on like that was kind of funny. That's one of the reasons why I liked Rush so much, because they had a great sense of humor. I remember Alex Lifeson used to have the little Barbie dolls set up by his pedals. A whole bunch of different Barbie dolls. I'm not really sure why that was there, but I guess his fans, I don't know. That was really cute. And there's a great picture on the internet. If you ever get a chance, just Google it. It's just the last picture of all 3 members of the band together, where you see there's Geddy Lee on the left, Neil Peart in the middle, Alex Lifeson on the right. They're all smiling. They're outside. They have their, winter jackets. You can tell it's somewhere in Canada. And it's a selfie. And it's such a great shot of all of them. I really it makes me happy to see that and sad at the same time. Unfortunately, they probably had a lot of good music still left in them. So it's unfortunate that, you know, they had to end Rush, but I think they did the right thing. Rush wouldn't be Rush without Neil. You know, he was such a big part of the music and the lyrics and everything, you know, so. So check it out. I recommend you guys do that. So as I mentioned earlier, you know, the good news today was that we hit 40,000 subscribers. I think that was really cool. I'm happy to see that. The bad news is that we've learned that Oasis is coming back, and I apologize ahead of time if there's any Oasis fans in the house, but apparently they're doing a reunion. They've actually announced their first concert in over 15 years. I gotta say, I wasn't an Oasis fan back then, 15 years ago. I'm still not. So I don't know if this is big news for anyone out there. It's not for me necessarily, but I figured I'd mention that in case you are an Oasis fan. Maybe that's something to look forward to. I mean, that's one of the bands where I don't feel like they've left good karma. There was a lot of negativity within that band between members and all that kind of stuff. And every time I think Oasis, even though I don't really know the band all that well, I think I get a negative vibe, you know? Whereas if I think Rush, generally I think of a positive vibe. Alex 2112 says, I liked Rush when everybody hated them, if you know what I mean. I remember that period. That was a transition period, I think, where they were trying to embrace more modern music, more modern tones, get a little bit less progressive, a little bit more into the synthesizers and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of fans of Rush at that period probably felt that they were kind of moving away from what Rush really was. I remember that period. So Paul came through with a pedal suggestion for the day. He says the pedal posted is the Joyo Bright Day, which is basically equal to the Boss Blues Driver Watercraft version, sonically identical, $40, free shipping. You know, I don't know what the big draw to the Blues Driver is now. And it'll basically tie into what I had going during the poll question. Back in the day, when the Blues Driver first came out, this was before the Waza version, I got one and I didn't like it. It was like, meh. And maybe I missed out on something at the time. I don't know. But I'm scratching my head on that one because a lot of people nowadays are like, wow, it's really great. And I'm like, I don't remember it being great. So maybe I got to try that one again. It's been a long time. But that's basically one of the items that I bought and got rid of almost immediately was the Blues Driver. And I don't know, maybe I missed out. You know, sometimes you're in a certain headspace in your life when you're younger and that's not the sound you're looking for. Then you circle back after a while and you're like, man, how come I overlooked this? Dan of New Jersey says, Liam is a lunatic. I think a lot of them are. And Wayne says, Oasis tickets will be unaffordable for most people, I guess. Jean-Pierre says, that was 1985 with the Power Windows. That was my first album. Power Windows, I remember that. Alex says, Oasis, don't worry. They'll get into another argument before the tour starts and the tickets have to be refunded. Oh, yeah, probably. My money would be on, yeah, that probably will happen. And speaking of refunding tickets, I saw something pretty sad the other day. Daryl Hall from Hall & Oates and Daryl's house. He had to walk off stage in Vancouver the other day. He wasn't feeling well, And there's actually video of that on YouTube where you see him. He sits down at a piano and you can see there's something wrong, and he just apologizes, and you can tell he's broken up over it, and he's like, sorry, I can't go on, basically. And he left the stage, and the tickets had to be refunded. So I don't know what's going on with Daryl. I hope he's okay. But he looked pretty worn out during that video. He looked different. He looked older. And sometimes, that's just our impression, where we feel like our idols and the people that we see in the spotlight are never going to get old. But truth be told, there's a lot of people out there that are looking pretty worn out, including Madonna. Have you seen the videos of Madonna lately? She seems to be just going through the motions. I feel bad for her, man. How old is Madonna now? And she's still trying to do it. She's still trying to act like a sex symbol on stage. I saw a video of her just the other day, and she was like totally lip syncing everything and like a few seconds off the music, and she looked like she was like completely drunk and just trying to stumble through the movements just to get through the show. I mean, when you get to a certain part of your life, you got the money, you got the fame, I would say your time in the spotlight's over. Leave it to someone else. Enjoy your life and just leave on a high. I don't understand why people will do that and just try and push through, even though you're basically duping the audience into thinking they're getting something of value where they're not. Anyway, that's the bad news. What was very interesting also this week, and I think Gibson probably felt some of the pushback after they announced that Randall Smith left Mesa Boogie. And I think they had to say something. So they actually put out an official, I would say, announcement to kind of, excuse me, to kind of calm down and appease people that are freaking out over the news that Randall's no longer with Mesa. But it seems, when I read it, it seemed like they used ChatGPT to generate this thing. Because it's almost like they took all of the comments that people posted on YouTube and tried to like answer each one of them one by one. I want to read you this thing. It's not long, but I just want to make you understand the gist of what they're doing. It's interesting. So basically they say Gibson has confirmed that Mesa Boogie founder Randall Smith has completed his time with Gibson as master designer and pioneer of Mesa Boogie, 3 years after Gibson bought the amplifier company. So Smith first started Mesa Boogie back in the 1960s as a small amp repair workshop that also modded Fender amps. His hot-rodded, high-gain, modified Fender combos were soon sought after by notable players looking for a more aggressive sound. Since then, Mesa Boogie introduced a number of entries into its versatile Mark series, loved by everyone from Prince to Metallica, and in 1990s introduced the aggressive tread plate clad rectifier amps. Okay, so Randall Smith remained at Mesa Boogie after Gibson's 2021 purchase of the brand, remaining as the lead amp designer, overseeing last year's launch of the Mesa Boogie Mark, I think it was 7 range of tube amps. So in Gibson's statements, Gibson's CEO plays tribute to Smith's work at the company before and after the purchase. And he says, "I'm incredibly grateful for Randy's pioneering insights, design, and trust in Gibson." He says, "Randy's DNA will always be present, and over the last few decades, he has trained the new generation of designers that have been leading the way for Gibson and Mesa Boogie amps. As we evolve our Gibson amp collection, including our Gibson and Mesa Boogie brands, Randy and his original design ideas will continue to inspire us to make the best and highest quality amplifiers we've ever made." That's a tall order. That remains to be seen. So it's funny. You can go on and like read the rest of the statement, but I think it's, just at this point they're just trying to mitigate the damage, not lose any die-hard Mesa Boogie fans. But I'm not sure. I'm not convinced about that. And that's the interesting thing, because not only has Mesa Boogie put out something about their amps, but Marshall also did the same recently. And there's a new CEO at the helm of Marshall now. And he also put out a statement which says something along the lines of they're kind of worried about the company neglecting their amps, because Marshall's been selling a lot of other stuff beyond amplifiers. And he says, we're aware of things we can do better. So we're going to find out whether or not they actually do that. But he says basically if they lose this, the brand, we lose everything. So basically it's what they're going to cherish first and foremost. And that cannot go away, but we got some catching up to do, he says. We've got to go back and show the guitar community that Marshall truly cares about them and will listen to them. So will that happen? I hope so. And if it does happen, I think a lot of people will be very happy, because I think, Marshall is one of those brands you don't necessarily want to see fade away. But, it can so easily be jeopardized with the company making some poor decisions in terms of their next, technology that they build into the amplifier, whether or not they embrace, some new technology or just stick to what's tried and true. If they increase the prices, so on and so forth. A lot of stuff remains to be seen. But it's interesting that they did that too. So I think, again, people realize that Marshall's been kind of, borderline. I love the Studio Vintage line that they put out. I think they're fantastic. And if they continue to put out stuff like that or better, then I'm hopeful that there's going to be good days to come. Profile Production says, Tony, can you do a Godin factory tour? I don't know if they actually are giving factory tours. Maybe one day. I never actually thought about doing that. Eddie says, are Mesa Boogie amps really flying off the shelves? Probably not, Eddie. I mean, they're not inexpensive amplifiers. There are a lot of fans of Mesa Boogie amps, but yeah, I think there's a lot of choice as well. A lot of people will stick with Fender, will stick with Marshall, stick with the lower end, the PVs and some, things that are more affordable. Not everybody can afford a Mesa Boogie amp either, right? All right, shall we do the poll question, guys? Let's jump to the poll. Give me a sec. Let's see if anybody else has voted here. I think we might have a few more votes tallied up here. All right, so the question for today was, have you ever returned a guitar or amp immediately after buying it? And the most popular response in the poll question is, no, I've never returned one, which is surprising. 42% of you said they've never returned anything. The second most popular vote was yes, I returned a few right away. 26% of you said yes. 19% of you said yes, but only after trying it for a while. And 12% said no, but I considered it. So that's pretty interesting to me that 42% of you never returned anything. I've returned stuff. I'm the type of guy that if I'm not 100% satisfied with something, I'll bring it back. That being said, though, I rarely buy a guitar or an amp without really considering it. So I won't necessarily, buy something sight unseen and just grab it and bring it back. I've I've purchased things and sold them as well. And like I had mentioned earlier, that Boss Blues driver, I bought that used, so I couldn't return it, but I sold it almost immediately. There was a couple of things that I purchased over time that I just bought. I just took, played it for a while. I'm like, nah, this is not for me, and sold it right away. But if you've returned stuff, I'd like to hear your stories. Shane says, rest in peace, the crappy Steinberger I owned. And someone else says, I've never returned any music gear, but in retrospect, I should have returned the second electric guitar I ever bought. It was a Japanese-made copy of a Gibson Explorer that I bought new in 1988. I eventually traded it for a Japanese-made Squier jazz bass a few years later. And someone else says, I bought an Epiphone once and exchanged it for a Gibson after 2 days. Wish I kept the Epiphone too, though I still have the Gibson. So some of you had made the exchange and regretted it. So my Logify says, when the RG Prestige weighed like 4.0 plus kilograms, I had to return it. It was too heavy on my lap even. Very cool. So if you make a decision to return something, I think it's for the best. And generally, unless it's like a vintage item that you can't really get readily anywhere else, some come, some go, but at the end of the day, you make the right decision, I think. Hey, if I can get a couple of thumbs up, I would appreciate it. We have 51 people in the house, 35 thumbs up right now. I'd love to see a couple more. I think that would be great. Alex says, Tony, every time I watch your show, all I want to do now is play guitar, warm up the Marshall right now. He's warming up the Marshall. Yeah, man. That's what I love about winter and the colder days. You can warm up next to your tube amplifiers as you're playing. Just get everything nice and, the tube's glowing red. Cushman says, return a Gibson Les Paul, broken headstock during shipping. Oh, man. And Danielle says, I have to wonder if the videos being made by amp repair techs are affecting amplifier buying decisions. They probably are to a certain degree. I don't see why they wouldn't. I mean, if you're considering an amplifier and then some tech says, oh man, these things are really a pain to repair and they fail often or it's a bad design, I'm sure it does affect people. Paul says Randy was replaced by a CEO as the designer. He will design when not busy with Gibson lawsuits. Now, Paul. We love Gibson, don't we? All right. I think we should end the show with a little bit of trivia. Since Jean-Pierre wanted some trivia. What do you guys think? Let's do some trivia before we end. Oh, and by the way, guys, I'll be putting another poll question out after the show where I'm going to be asking you guys which pedal I should review next. There's a few pedals I have lined up which I want to review and do a playing sample and run through for you guys. And I want to see which ones you guys are more interested in. So we'll knock down the list in terms of which one is the most popular and work our way down. So if you guys don't mind giving some feedback on that when I post it, I would appreciate that as well. Jeff says, my experience with Mesa, oh my God, it's heavy. That's loud. Can you smell burning? Where's that smoke coming from? Oh dear, my amp's on fire. Come on, Jeff, are you serious? I hope you didn't really have that kind of experience with the Mesa Boogie amps. I had a bunch of Mesa Boogie amps, nothing caught on fire, but they were heavy and they were loud. I can attest to that. Mark said I returned one of the original PRS Archon amps because it was too much gain for my taste right after buying it. Yeah, that's the thing. And I mentioned that earlier on in the show. You can always add gain. You can't remove it. So that's why it's nice to get an amp that starts with a clean platform. This is why I like my Studio Vintage 20 so much, because without any gain, it gets you to the edge of breakup if you really crank it up, but it doesn't really overly saturate, but you can definitely flavor it the way you want it with pedals. Casey Lee says, I returned a Gibby Les Paul Studio to Guitar Center because it had the dreaded hump in the neck at the 12th fret and couldn't be set up properly. Guitar Center was great and got me a newer studio for the same price. Well, I'm glad you noticed that. A lot of people might not necessarily be savvy to all that stuff and end up with a guitar which they're struggling with and they don't know why. And they only realize that after the warranty period's over and can't return it. You know what I mean? So, okay, let's do some trivia. Let's start off with this question and see who can answer it. If there's any Bruce Springsteen fans in the house, you should know the answer to this question. Who is Bruce Springsteen's motorcycle babe in Born to Run? Is it A, Wendy, B, Sandy, C, Candy, or D, Crazy Janie? I'll give you a moment to think about that one. Don't Google it, please. We want to play fair. Dan says the SV20 is perfect with just a little reverb and blues driver. I like a little reverb. I had a little reverb. I had a little delay, slap back delay to it just to make it sound bigger. Yeah, and if you just need a little drive. If you have a good drive, transparent drive pedal with that amplifier, you're in business. You're cooking. Jeff says, true story, Tony. It was the 1987 50 caliber plus. You know, I wouldn't doubt it because I remember a lot of the Mesa amps that I had. I remember the Electrodyne had a fan in it, in the back of it, to keep the tubes cool. So I guess they were aware of that, you know, maybe overheating. I remember that amp definitely had a fan in there. Mark says, years ago I returned a black Gibson SG Standard. It came with a completely unusable tuner on it. Like the inner workings were busted. Oh. Yeah, it's an easy fix, but why should you pay for it? So yeah, you probably did the right thing returning it. My knees hurt is trying to talk himself into buying a Katana bass amp. Why, what's to talk? Just go out and buy one, man. It's a low risk purchase. You can buy one, and if you don't like it, you can sell it. You'll make your money back. Steven made it back. He says, phone in hand. Fantastic. It's a good day. I always hate losing phones. So JP says Sandy is the right answer. Jeff says Wendy. And Mark says no idea. My niece says, because baby, we're born to run. That's all I know. I don't remember him mentioning a name. Missed the beginning of the question. So the beginning of the question was, who was Bruce Springsteen's motorcycle babe in Born to Run? A, Wendy, B, Sandy, C, Candy, or D, Crazy Janie? Gene says, what happened to Daryl Braun? I don't know what happened to Daryl Braun. What's going on with Daryl? Is he missing in action? Nylon Burning says Janie. Nylon Burning says D. Crazy Janie. Nope. So the answer, drum roll please, it's Wendy. I would have sworn it was Sandy, but apparently it's Wendy. Okay. Learn something new. Steven says Wendy. Give the man a prize. Okay, number 2. We'll do three trivias today. So artist John Pesci's design for the Rolling Stones lip and tongue logo was inspired by A, a very loud groupie, B, Keith's awesome guitar licks, C, Marianne Faithfull, or D, Mick Jagger's mouth. Again, I'll give you a little bit of time to think that one over. You guys tell me which one it is. I think that one's pretty easy in terms of a question. Mark says Mick Jagger's mouth. While we're waiting for others to answer the question, Steve Vai is apparently giving thumbs up to his Positive Grid signature Spark Mini inspired by his 5-neck Hydra guitar. Did you guys read that? And it's got 4 Vai design presets in it. So I know we were talking about some of you not liking the Spark, but Steve Vai is giving it a thumbs up. So is he just trying to cash in? I don't know. But if you're looking for some Steve Vai inspired tones, apparently it's in the Spark. Just wanted to throw that one out there. So Eddie says, I always thought it was Mick Jagger's mouth. Yeah, that's it. That was the easy one. You're right. It's Mick's mouth. Absolutely. Okay, last one. Then we're out of here, guys. All right? Last one. Are you ready? This is an easy one, too. I think if you're a ZZ Top fan, it'll be easy. The only member of ZZ Top without a beard is A, Billy Gibbons, B, Dusty Hill, or C, Frank Beard. I'll give you a few seconds on that one. Alex says Steve Vai is getting kickbacks from Spark. Of course, no doubt. He's endorsing it. Of course he is. One thing about Steve Vai, and you guys might hate me for saying this, he's got amazing technique, but I'm not a big fan of his tone. I mean, the guy can play, no doubt, but his tone is really saturated. It's really like overdone. And for me, I prefer, Billy Gibbons' tone. At least on the early records, not necessarily what you hear now when he's playing live, but in the early records, I love that tone, where you can actually hear the resonance of the guitar, and it's not just overly saturated like what you hear on a lot of the Steve Vai stuff. All right, so basically, that was an easy one, right? Everybody knows the answer to that one? Yeah. So, Frank Beard. Yeah, I think that's it. Frank Beard. And that's funny, right? Because, if you think about it, Billy Gibbons has a beard, Dusty Hill has a beard, and Frank Beard doesn't have a beard. And you gotta love the names. Dusty Hill. That's a classic. We miss Dusty. Dusty, he was the backbone of the band. It's so sad to see Billy trying to do it on his own with Frank, and the new guy. I don't know his name, but I don't know. I find like having the new guy in the band is like, it's not cutting it for me. I've seen a couple of his live, some people streaming live shows, and I'm almost 90% sure that he's lip syncing to most of it. There's one particular recording that I saw recently where it was pretty obvious that he was lip syncing to the song, to the singing part of it, which is, it's too bad. He's still playing, but I don't think he's singing it. All right, guys. On that note, I think we're gonna be wrapping it up. Marcel says, I thought Billy passed away. Oh, Lord. Marcel, don't say that. No, it wasn't Billy that passed away. It was Dusty, the bass player. Billy's still around. He's still cranking it out. Still doing it. Still pushing his guacamole. I think he's selling some guacamole mix or something like that, or not really sure. Yeah, I agree with you, Time Surfing Alien. When I saw that surfboard bass, I mean, what kind of mockery is that? You know, if you're there for the music, play the music. Anyways, all right, guys, thank you so much for making this Sunday special once again. Thank you for supporting the channel. I appreciate all the guys that have subscribed to the channel and pushing us over the 40,000 mark. That's fantastic. A milestone, and I'm glad I'm glad it happened today. I'm glad it happened on a Sunday. It's like good karma. And all of you out there that are watching the live shows and not subscribed yet, shame on you. Please subscribe. Give us a thumbs up if you don't mind before you leave. And at the same time, tune in to the next reviews that we have lined up for you guys. There's going to be more stuff coming your way. I'll do the review on the 7 strings, the 7 gauge strings. We'll install those and see how they sound. And I have a few other pedals lined up here for some more reviews as well, and some other stuff coming your way. And I'll let you know how it turned out with the Tone King Royalist next Sunday. So stay tuned for that, all right? Put it on your calendar, guys. I'll be back next Sunday with more. Till then, stay safe, stay healthy, keep on rocking. See you guys soon.